everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Savannah and today we're going over the March 2024 Dev Diary update for Prehistoric Kingdom. We're gonna jump right on into it, starting with the state of development. Before jumping into the bulk of our Update 11 coverage, we wanted to quickly touch base on a few things. The first is that we are working on another recording session with the brilliant Nigel Marvin. Not only are we doing dialogue for the species that currently lack it, but we're retroactively adding an introduction and facts to the animals that are now an alternate genus. It feels strange to say, but soon we'll have lines for almost every animal that we're planning to release during early access. That's amazing. Nigel Marvin is amazing, and I love all the facts, so really exciting that we'll be getting something for everyone. Secondly, moving to our favorite, or my favorite, we've revised the American lion and cave lion's base animations to fix up that 1,000-yard stare that it had. We're not sure what horrors they might have experienced, but relaxed cats are on their way in Update 11. This is great. As you can see here on the left, in Update 10, its eyes just kind of seemed to... there's nothing going on, right? There's nothing going on behind those eyes. And then on the right, the facial structure and the eyeballs look just a little bit more, realistic, and I think it looks great. They definitely gave my favorite cat the upgrade that it needed. Moving down to the supporter bundle. In case you missed it, we dropped the supporter bundle in early March to help fund development and provide access to Volume 1 of our digital art book and soundtrack. We are incredibly proud of how these turned out and wanted to thank everyone for their warm reception. The art book provides a 200-page look at animal concept art, environment renders, and concept sheets for the hundreds of building pieces available in-game, whilst offering development insight into our choices and why things were designed that way. It was important for this to feel like it was more than just a picture book. I have not been able to check out the art book just yet. I am not a huge fan of digital art books myself, just because I am such a physical copy collector of things. If they ever print a physical copy, I will get that in a heartbeat. But for now, here's a couple little pages out of that art book. It is really cool to be able to see concept art and development ideas and things like that for the game. So I am glad that they've put this out there, as it's a really cool little insight into how they made the game and what they were doing and all that kind of stuff. So really, really cool. You can see the Pachyrhinosaurus there with a few different iterations of all of its colors and things like that. Really cool. We have the donation box on the bottom. Really, really cool. We also released a soundtrack featuring 25 minutes of music and 4 exclusive bonus tracks if purchased on Steam or Bandcamp. The album is also now available on streaming too. You can find the OST on Apple Music, Spotify, or YouTube Music, and pretty much any other platform you might prefer. So if you want to check out the soundtrack, put that on in the background. I use it for the background of my videos, so you're listening to it now. Really, really good stuff. Now moving on to my favorite part of this dev diary, which is going to be talking all about Update 11. Essentially, Update 11 will be releasing to the public testing branch on Steam sometime before the end of April. They specifically say in late April, so I would expect that in just about 3 weeks, so we're really not that far away. It's important to the developers that they gather feedback and continue developing this update, because this Update 11 will massively change how the game is played, so they really do want the feedback to make it as good as possible. But in the meantime, let's take a look at what will be included, starting with a brand new species. Update 11 will be introducing 2 new animals, the first of which is the squirrel-like dinosaur from Down Under, Leaellynasaura, I think is how you say that. They did provide with a pronunciation pronunciation, how it's like phonetically said, and it's still difficult for me to say, so hopefully I got that correct. He is an adorable little guy. I absolutely love his colors and his patterning, and that little tail, I shouldn't say little, that long tail. I can't wait to see what kind of animations this guy gets in the game. If he, you know, moves that tail around, how he walks, how he runs. You know, I want some cute little endearing animations because he seems like such a fun little guy, I guess, knowing nothing about this dinosaur whatsoever. As southern parts of Australia were located within the Antarctic Circle during the early Cretaceous, it's possible that sunlight would have been highly variable. With this animal potentially going weeks without sunlight, we've chosen to highlight the various levels of cold tolerance Leaellynasaurus, is that how you say it? I have to go back up to the pronunciation here. Leaellynasaura might have had through varying lengths of plumage per skin. Unlike other small herbivorous dinosaurs in Prehistoric Kingdom, these ones have quite the frightening dentition. Look at them! They're so very cool. The coloration on the left-hand side of these kind of red and brown colored ones is really pretty with that bright ombre from like yellow, orange, all the way to dark red across its snout up over the top of its head. Really, really pretty looking, and its little bare feet. You can see it's kind of like scaly skin, no feathers down there. Really cool. I'm assuming these are feathers. It looks a lot like the Drysaurus, I think, in game. And so I'm just kind of assuming these are feathers, but if it's not, correct me down below, please. Either way, the coloration is beautiful. Now that leaves one unknown species for Update 11, and before anybody rushes to speculate, this is not another theropod. Enjoy this little sneak peek. What do you think? I don't know enough about dinosaurs or species or anything like that to make any sort of educated guess. So let me know what you think down in the comment section so that I can do some Googling and I can figure out what might be the next dinosaur before it gets released. I'm really interested to see. Moving to species splitting. Going forward in Update 11, all animals in the game will be properly split by their species in the UI. This means that when you're in the nursery or excavations menu, you'll find distinct buttons for each species rather than lumping them all under one umbrella. We will be extending this functionality to the animal info signs as well. As far as the game was concerned, each species was already considered unique, and this change simply makes the UI consistent with that. To reflect this upcoming change, we have updated our website's animal gallery. The nursery will be receiving a big UI overhaul down the line to better accommodate these changes, so please stay tuned for that. Jumping to early staff and logistics gameplay. Now, I have not yet jumped in and actually played the game as a park simulation game. I have only built pretty things and looked at what the dinosaurs do in the game as far as animations and things like that. I am waiting for this to be a little bit more fleshed out before I start to create something like a Let's Play and actually try to create and manage a park. So let's see what they have for us. In this part of the dev diary, we're going to walk you through what to expect from logistics and the overall gameplay loop it presents. When Update 11 releases, we'll only have keepers and laborers available as they are the most essential at this stage of development. The remaining staff types, janitors, engineers, security, and vets, will be added as their gameplay systems become relevant. As you begin your park in Update 11, you'll notice that feeders and kiosks are now empty when placed. In order to actually work, they must be stocked by staff members. This is where our logistics gameplay begins. To get resources into your zoo, players will first need to build a loading bay. Upon the initial first-time placement, players will receive an immediate shipment of goods to help get the park up and running. After that, your loading bay will continue to import guest meals, merchandise, and small amount of animal feed every 15 minutes via box truck. Players can purchase up to 2 additional box trucks for their loading bays to speed up delivery times or place additional loading bays around the park if they need more shipments. I really do like this mechanic that's going to be included in the gameplay. The idea of actually having to order and get shipments of resources into your park instead of just having it be like an unlimited thing that your keepers just go back to a building and go grab. It adds one more layer of complexity, and I'm really excited to get in and kind of explore that and see how it affects the way I play the game. Once the resources have arrived, players will need staff to transport them around the zoo. Laborers can carry the meals and merchandise to guest facilities, while keepers are needed to refill feeders with animal feed. To access the staff hiring menu, players will need to build a staff center. Of course, like any module, these new structures can be built over or recolored with the modular building system to ensure any access points, like doors, remain accessible. While out in the park, staff are intended to be very automated. You can call staff to complete specific tasks like refilling a certain feeder or transporting goods, but with the scale of Prehistoric Kingdom, the expectation is that they should just do their jobs. Wouldn't that be nice if, people in real life would just do their jobs? I've had a bit of a rough couple weeks at my specific job, and if I could just summarize it in one sentence, it would be, could you just do your job? Anyway, tangent aside, we believe your primary role as park manager should focus on who you hire, how many people you hire, and how you lay out the park's logistics infrastructure rather than micromanaging where your staff are and what they're doing. If jobs aren't being done, you likely don't have enough people or your layout stinks. That's amazing. I love that. Expanding your storage. Picture this. You've got a few habitats, the zoo is expanding, but so is the distance between your loading bay and the park. It's time to introduce some goods storage and produce storage modules. These warehouses come in small or large variants, allowing logistics staff to move stock from the loading bay into their respective storage spaces. This means that if a feeder needs refilling or your restaurant needs more meals, staff can simply travel to the nearest storage module that has what they need rather than walking all the way back to the loading bay. These warehouses are planned to have a few basic UI options that dictate how they should be filled up. For example, stop fruit from being delivered to this produce storage module, but we were aiming to make them more contextual, as produce station near a meat feeder is naturally going to have more meat delivered to it than a produce station that's next to an herbivore paddock. That's all a bit more theoretical though, so just sharing how we'd like them to work. Again, just another kind of layer of management, right, to run your park. I really am excited for it. Now, it's time to talk about some poop. You smell that? When animals eat, they eventually excrete. Wow, what a slogan for a t-shirt. Without a place to dump their dung, keepers can't clean habitats. This is why you'll need to invest in a couple of compost heap modules. Really cool. So there's actually something to do with the poo. Amazing. Another shirt that could be made. I'm full of wonderful merch ideas. Prehistoric Kingdom, reach out. Let's chat. But somewhere to put the poo, basically, which is amazing. Again, instead of just kind of cleaning it up and having it disappear into the void and, don't have to deal with it, it's another level of realistic management because it doesn't just disappear. You actually have to bring it somewhere. After cleaning up dung piles, keepers will transport the poop from the habitat to the nearest compost heap. Once delivered, the stored poop will convert to compost over time, a resource that'll become invaluable when making your own animal feed. This module can have a pretty negative impact on park beauty, as I would imagine, so you'll want to keep it hidden from guest view. Then we move on to creating produce. After a certain amount of park growth, the measly amount of animal feed you get from the loading bay isn't going to be enough. Thankfully, this is where the produce station comes in. A produce station is able to passively create food for your animals by converting the compost in your park into feed. As long as staff can keep delivering compost, you can keep making produce. Produce stations can be specialized to cultivate a specific dietary type, so plants, fruit, meat, fish, insects. We talked about that in a past update where they kind of showed pictures of each of those things. Or produce all dietary types for a lower yield per compost conversion. As your produce station fills up, laborers will transfer it out and place the feed into the product storage modules around the park. In the event that you have no storage modules, your keepers will instead take food directly from the produce stations when going to refill feeders. The dev team has created a handy little flow chart for us to kind of get this all into perspective. So you can see here we start with either the loading bay or the produce station, depending on where you're getting your foods. If you're ordering your foods and they're getting delivered, that's going to be the loading bay. And if you're producing your own via the compost, that's going to be the produce station. Both get carried out by the laborers and either go to the goods storage or the produce storage. Then the laborer or the keeper will either take them to guest amenities, the laborer will do that, and then the keeper will take things to the habitat, and then you can see it kind of all loops back around with the keeper route going through the poop flowchart area back to the keeper, the compost heap, the laborer will then take it back to the produce station, and then so on and so forth. It repeats itself. So really cool little flowchart here to kind of break down all of the words we just said. Really kind of helps me put the pieces where they belong and understand how this mechanic works. Now for some changes from the January dev diary. As a final side note, we'd like to mention that since the last dev diary, our plans for generalist staff have changed. We now intend for cashiers to simply be a part of kiosk modules and their upkeep costs, rather than being separate entities that can be hired or fired like keepers or laborers. Because of this change, the idea of janitors and laborers temporarily taking on other jobs has been scrapped. This potentially makes the role of staff in the game a lot more clear-cut and should make it more obvious when something in the park isn't working out. Not a huge change in our opinion, but noticeable enough where we want to keep you in the loop. Then talking about gameplay changes, excavations. Excavations are what allows Prehistoric Kingdom to bring extinct animals back to life, scouring the globe in search of viable genetic material. In the current game, however, the excavations mechanic really is nothing more than a glorified shopping menu. With Update 11, we aim to rectify this. Coming in Update 11 is a brand new module called the Fossil Depot. This building provides a space for parks dig teams and grants access to the excavations menu. It is here that players will be able to both buy and send out dig teams to various dig sites around the world. These sites are used to obtain the necessary DNA required to create animals in the animal nursery. Any idle dig teams currently not excavating will eventually be visible in the carved park below. By hovering over a dig site, players will be able to see the potential operating costs of an excavation, the estimated time per excavation cycle, and whether or not there are events impacting the dig site. Once opened, up to 5 dig teams can be assigned at once, increasing the ongoing operation costs in exchange for a higher DNA yield every cycle. There's no financial penalty for moving teams from dig site to dig site, but they will have to travel back to the park first. Diving into excavating a little deeper, each excavation cycle, your assigned teams will send their findings back to the park in the form of DNA. The yield amount for your DNA is random, but can be improved by installing infrastructure at the dig site such as housing, which decreases total excavation time, and their own personal genetics lab, which improves DNA yield amounts. Different species have their own yield rarities, and so even if you decide to tackle Hell Creek from day one, you'll unlikely be able to unlock a Tyrannosaurus before Edmontosaurus. Once 100% of the DNA has been found for a species, it can be bred from the animal nursery. Completing all animals with a dig site will unassign the relevant teams and return them to the park. Next, we have events. Everything we we've discussed so far assumes that your excavation has gone smoothly though. Every month there are global events that randomly impact dig sites all across the globe. A positive event like the fossil boom can help speed up excavation processes, drastically increasing yield amounts for as long as the event is active in a dig site. On the other hand, negative events like high export tax can increase your operating costs, excavation time, and lower yields as your team struggles to send your excavated goods back to the park. Players may need to pivot their excavations from month to month depending on how these conditions change, tracking advantage of sudden opportunities or temporarily leaving a site behind. What might have been a great month in Hell Creek Formation may quickly turn to an expensive crawl the next month. This is amazing. So hopefully all of that makes sense for you. If you do want to check out the actual text of the dev diary, do check it out on Prehistoric Kingdom's website. They do have it linked there and you can read everything for yourself, read it over, look at all of these images again. But I'm really excited actually to jump into the gameplay. It does seem like it's going to be a pretty detailed system where you're going to have to run your park and manage the excavation sites so you can make dinosaurs and then manage your deliveries to take care of those dinosaurs. So I'm really excited about all the little bits and pieces that's going into the actual gameplay of the park management side of things. And the last thing for update 11 is the guest art overhaul. Moving into a more stylized art direction, the future brings a new era of visitors to Prehistoric Kingdom, intended to introduce better faces, hair, clothing, new ethnicities, and an expensive suite of animations that make the park feel more alive. Here you can see some of the work in progress animations we've been making. Though not all will be in-game as of update 11, we hope this shows our commitment to improving the quality of our humans. Update 11 is planned to bring the first stage of this guest art overhaul with it, focused on upgrading our technical back end to support these new visual features. There have been a lot of assets to design, model, and curate, but we are getting there. We will have more info about what guest features are ready for Update 11 once it hits the PTB. And yes, we're also working on bench sitting. There you go, guest sitting on a brightly pink bench. I don't pay too much attention, obviously, to the guests as of now, but really cool that they're getting some updates, becoming more alive, more realistic, just like the dinosaurs. It's great. And lastly, talking about the future. So ontogeny art tests. To close out this month's dev diary, we'll be leaving you with a work-in-progress look at our baby Tyrannosaurus. We're expecting some proportions and face shapes to change before ontogeny is fully implemented and added into the public game, but this at least gives you an early look at how these fluff balls could look. You can even spot the adolescent T-Rex in the back based on the Jane specimen. As mentioned previously, all baby skins are designed to blend into their adult colorations regardless of what skin was selected. In the case of our T-Rex here, that means all Tyrannosaurus would start as feathered infants and either lose feathers as they mature or retain them. We can't wait to share more looks at ontogeny with you in the future. This has to be hands down what I am most excited for. I mean, come on, baby dinosaurs. It will be so cool to have baby dinosaurs and, growing up through juvenile all the way to adult in a park simulation game. So I am so very, very excited. And just look at how adorable he looks. He is so cute. I cannot wait. And that's it, March's dev diary for Prehistoric Kingdom. As always, let me know what you think down below. I do already have some speed builds for Prehistoric Kingdom out, and I'm working on a brand new park that has not released yet. So be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. Leave a like and a comment below, and I will talk at you in the next video. Bye!